Hey there, everybody. Chilly morning here in Hubbardton. Pretty serious frost. My boys are not exactly doing their schoolwork. I can see River in Leif over there experimenting with a smoke bomb. But I want to take a moment and talk to you about invasive species. So it's a word that, or a phrase that I think many of you have heard of, but I'm not sure most of us really know what invasive species are. So basically, invasive species are plants or animals that come from different regions, and we're not in the habitat in which they're found today historically. Now, to make it invasive, the plant or animal has to have hostile adaptations. So it literally goes after native species, takes over habitat, or actually consumes native plants and animals. Some of the invasive species that do this have something, an adaptation called being an allopath, which means that their organic material actually decays and creates chemicals that inhibit the growth of native species. Others just smother the native species, and that's similar to what I'm going to show you right here, right now. So there are species that are not native to the area, but they're not invasive because they don't spread or smother native species. So those would be like an apple tree. Believe it or not, there were no apple trees here historically, and they, careful with that smoke bomb, and they actually contribute to habitat as opposed to actually taking from it. So right here, excuse me, on my old farmhouse here in Hubbardton, and actually you can kind of look up here, the back of that place. I think you can see it. This is what's called the mother parcel of the area, and that means it was the original homestead in this given spot. Now the landscape's changed a lot. There used to be ponds, there was a mill here, all kinds of other things were at one time happening. But within that, people brought a lot of species, namely plants, for decorative purposes or for sustenance or food purposes that they didn't know were going to become invasive. And now we do have a major problem with invasives here in this area of Hubbardton, but in Vermont in general. In fact, I've noticed there's a lot in Brandon. In some areas of the country, invasive species are taken extremely seriously because they do threaten ecological cycles and balance seriously, and in fact they could throw things way off. So again, behind me I am down by this little brook that borders my property, and I'm gonna show you an invasive species that you're probably pretty familiar with, and that is Japanese knotweed. So there's a heavy frost last night and the knotweed got damaged, which is cool. So actually it'll come up again, but the knotweed actually probably got stymied a little. So this is knotweed. Old timers call it bamboo. It was brought in as a decorative species, namely actually in the 1960s. Look at the ice that's in there. That's incredible. Oh my goodness. Hopefully my flowers are okay. I don't think they are. But anyway, knotweed, what it does is it takes over the riparian areas of streams by way of it has a very shallow root system. It smothers all the plants around it. And what it does is it creates the collapsing of banks, and then as it collapses, it goes downstream and then gets washed ashore and starts another colony. So I have this huge knotweed patch here. I mean, I have probably an acre of land that's been eaten up by knotweed, and it came here during Hurricane Irene, which is so it came downstream from somewhere where it had been propagated or had been planted or had spread, and that's how these invasive species work. So this knotweed gets like 7-8 feet tall, but right now it's pretty small. I'll get you another one here. Pretty amazing. This frost was absolutely unbelievable here. Ice all in there. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. But right here on the property again, I got to tell you, I have Japanese honeysuckle over there. I've got garlic mustard. I've got what's called gill all over. I have trying to think of the other invasives. A buckthorn, Eurasian buckthorn. I have Let's see, what else that I know is invasive? Oh, just so many different plants. So again, those are the big ones that I have right now. Garlic mustard, Eurasian buckthorn, honeysuckle, and Japanese knotweed. Now, one thing that's interesting is we're trying to figure out ways in which we can utilize these plants because we really need to get them in check. We know that things like knotweed we'll never be able to control, but maybe we can dial it back a little because it's very harmful to our river streams. And if you like fishing, it's really bad for fish habitat. It encourages sediments in the river, etc. So we know that some of these plants actually have some uses. So in fact, we can eat knotweed. We can also use it for medicinal purposes. And we can eat, wow, that smoke bomb's really quite something, guys. Oh my goodness. And we can eat garlic mustard. So I'm going to actually make in the kitchen a knotweed pie. And then I'm also going to make a garlic mustard and nettle pesto. So today's lesson, obviously on invasive species. And here we go.